Ma'at Hotep. I am Satra Nitert Ketha Abe Menut Ma'at. And this is my brother, Sarah Niter Amenhotep Setepen Ra MerriAmen.
Hotep. Shalom.
This video is titled Marriage and Matrimony. This video is for those who are going into the institution of marriage, who are already in the institution of marriage, and those who are coming out of the institution of marriage. First, let me speak on, in the Kemetic sciences, they speak of User and Uset. For those who do not know who that is, in Greek, that would be Osiris and Isis. User and Uset spiritually are brother and sister, and they are married in the matrimony of the One Most High, their connection in the spirit of husband and wife. They are what is called the truest meaning of matrimony, the connection and bond in the spirit realm of two entities coming together to make one entity. And that matrimony is in the spirit realm, which is different from what is called marriage here in the physical realm.
Right.
They're two totally different type of entities. One is in the sanction of the One Most High, and the other is what man has created when two people come together and come to an agreement of working in one household and working together to have a one mind together and things like that.
True. We have a philosopher, Amenhotep, that says, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. That word merry means to be happy, to love. We have a lot of marriages in our life. Our jobs, our relationships, just communication with our friends. We have a lot of marriages in our life, but we only have one matrimony. And no offense to anybody out there or how your lifestyle is, but when you have a masculine identity and a feminine identity that comes together underneath a one identity, right, then that's when you have that matrimony, that's matched up. If you ever take a look at a plus sign and a minus sign, a minus sign is just a plus sign without a line. So it still matched up with each other. Right. Okay. But a lot of people get these vows confused when they go into matrimony before the eyes of the One Most High. It's a vow. You need to break your words down. Vow. It's a vow, a promise that you take before the eyes of God, the Shaddai, El Shaddai, God Almighty, or however you want to pronounce it, El. And to honor these vows really is the encompassment of comprehending what Asar and Aset really had to go through to become one with each other for real. Of remembering, of putting back together, of sacrifice, devotion, and even getting the family members together to bring back, right, to resurrect the God or the family. Right. That way it can come back to the strength of where it needs to be, a matrimony. Right.
And I think, to break in for a sec, but I think a lot of times that we have lost a certain type of connection when it comes to two people coming together. There are many things that are lost in coming together in just friendships, because a lot of people have relationships and don't have friendships in their relationships anymore. They don't know how to talk to each other. They don't know how to work things out. They don't know how to do these things without arguing and fighting it all the way through. I have taken notice that even in my own personal relationships with people, even with my children, that's again another part of those marriages, is learning how to talk to people, learning how to open up. But doing so, we forget that one major thing in our relationships and our links to these people is continuing at all times, no matter what your spiritual practice is, no matter what your religious practice is keeping the one most high in the forefront of your mind, so that when you're speaking to that person, you know that you are speaking into the Spirit of God in that person, so that you should not want to yell at that person, you should not want to fight at that person, you should want to share what your thoughts are on something that may be happening between the two of you that is not working, and just speak on it, share about it, say these things are hurting me, these things are bothering me, all the things that you do. The worst thing to do in friendships, relationships, marriages, matrimony, any of those things, is to point your finger at somebody else and say that you did this to me, I don't like when you do this to me, and so on. Because remember, when you're pointing at somebody, you have three fingers pointing back at you. You know, and a lot of people forget that, and that's letting you know that maybe there must be something that's within you that is actually might be an issue that you have to work with to get through, so that you can be able to connect back to the one who you're with.
And also, communication is definitely key. You know, as the story goes, Set, you know, I know this is going to sound kind of crazy, but Set, when he finally was defeated by Heru, he was sentenced to become the wind that pushes Asar's boat. So when we speak, we have wind that comes out of our mouth called breath. So therefore, how are we supposed to get Asar's message across of atonement if we don't speak to each other?
Very good point.
So, when it comes down to these, let's go on to the first aspect of it, these marriages. Okay. Because just because you put a ring on somebody's finger and you took a vow before God, in your mind you're saying, oh man, I'm married. And that's all you say is, I'm married. You did not once step back and said, I made a vow of matrimony for sickness and in health, to death do us part. Now, there's also a part inside of the scripture book that I like to go by, that I relate to, the Holy Bible, where it talks about Messiah answering a question where they said, well, is it better for you to be married or single? And he just plainly said that it's better for you to be single, because if you're not going to go ahead and hold up your vows of matrimony, then basically you're not doing anything. Your best to be single and to go ahead and hold yourself to yourself, basically, right, than to go ahead and take a vow before the holy court, the matrimony, and then go ahead and mess up in that matrimony.
Right.
You know. And that's like I said, that's just out of the book that I go ahead and read for myself. A lot of other people have different scripture books out there, you know, Matthew Netta, Quran, Hadith, Torah, Quran, you know, a couple other books. All scripture is given by inspiration of God.
Right.
Don't forget that.
But in speaking of our marriages and stuff that we go through, that when we take that vow, we must understand what we're taking. You know, when you are sitting there, it's not just about the whole romance and the ambiance and, oh, she's wearing this beautiful white dress with a veil and all these beautiful flowers all over the place and your friends and family are there. At that moment, when that pastor, that priest, whoever it is that is sanctioned to be able to marry a man and a woman together, or however it is, that it should only be of hearing the voice of that pastor or whoever it is that's marrying you, and only seeing you and the person you're marrying and the one most high with you. And knowing that when you're looking in that person's eyes and that person's looking into your eyes, that you are sharing these vows and speaking to the God in them, and they're speaking to the God in you. And a lot of people don't do that because marriage today has been is almost been made into a joke. People are not taking marriage seriously at all. They think that, oh, because I may work pretty well with this person, or she's cute, or he's hot, and well, we got some good money together, or we got kids and all this other stuff, we should go ahead and do this. You have to know in the spirit that this marriage is right. You can't just jump into relationships with people and not truly know that this person is the one that you're with, as they say. And it took a long time. Actually, it took this brother right here to explain to me what that really means to be evenly yoked. And because even when I was married for 7 years one time before, and even in my marriage, I had to go through a lot of stuff to get the gist of what marriage was about, and I hated marriage for a long time, the idea, because how I saw my friends around me and the people that I saw and knew how their marriage worked, it just didn't seem right. And even how they talk about it in the Bible, how they talk about it in different other practices and so on, and even just how I viewed marriage to be, it was just nothing like that. And back then, it wasn't until he explained to me because he was in the military, and he gave in a military sense on how marriage was, and it made sense to me, and it made it so that it didn't give me this thought that, oh, man is over woman and she has no power, she can't speak, and oh, he got the last word and she can't say nothing and all this other stuff. And that's how marriage has always been presented to me, and he shared something totally different with me to help me to see differently.
You see, and then that's another thing, you have to, once again, I'm going to go back to the book that I referenced to. You have to look at it, when in Genesis 1:5, where it talks about, God created a morning and an evening. Now, in the morning, you have the sun. In the evening, you have the moon. Both of them together equals one day. So therefore, if man is the sun and the woman is the moon, then we got to work together to equal one family. The way I described it to her before I went into that book, I described it to her as this. You have a general. With that general, you have a sergeant major. Okay? The general, of course, make sure that the paperwork is done, the troops are marching in order, and this, that, and the third. The sergeant major is the one that gets down in the dirt to make sure that the troops are trained up. Training is up to par. That way, when the general asks for something and the sergeant major reports back to him, the whole thing works as a unit, and they can triangulate and walk forward, right down the middle of whatever they got to walk right down the middle of. A famous pharaoh figured that one out. His name was Ramesses during the Battle of Kadesh. He figured it out that, hey, look, let me just go ahead and triangulate myself and just call upon the spirit of all men like we're supposed to, and walk straight down the middle, of this whole thing. And hey, the proof is on the walls. So what can I say? But yeah, a woman is our Eve. Once again, the book that I read talks about how the woman comes from the rib of man, and that's a metaphor. It's meta for you, meta for me.
He's going to finish us off on the second part. Give us just a moment.
Hotep. The woman being taken from the rib of man, as it says in the scripture book that I read. Now, like I said, it's a metaphor. It's meta for you, meta for me. Now, the woman, as it says, comes from the rib. And we all know that the rib is the closest bone to the heart. Okay? And that's where we're supposed to keep our women, close to our hearts. But the rib also protects the heart. And that's exactly how we're supposed to do our women. Protect our women. A woman isn't supposed to walk behind us, but we are supposed to protect our family. For the way back to the father is through the child. And then way back through the mother is through the father. Because the father protects where his generations come from. So, understanding that is another deeper principle, understanding matrimony. Because when you are matched up, like two pairs of socks. I know it's funny, but when you're matched up like two pairs of socks, it feels right on your feet. And that's exactly how a matrimony is. It is a matrimony. It's a deeper level I could say, of just, okay, well, me and this person got a nice house. You know, we're good church-going people. We might go to our temples, our synagogues, our meetings, our kingdom halls or whatever. And, you know, we might have a nice truck and a beautiful house and stuff like that. You know, but on the inside of what's going on inside that house, you know, between them people, you know, is it truly a matrimony? Are these people truly working towards the benefit of the family? Or are they doing it just to say they have it? And no matter what goes on, the woman is content because she can sit up here and say, well, my kids are stable and I'm going to go ahead and deal with this man putting his hands on me. Or this man sitting up here saying, well, I just lost my get up and go. I lost my drive. You know, I'm content with where I'm at right now. My woman's taking care of me and my kids are taken care of, and I'm just going to sit back and do what I'm going to do because I'm a man. Because sometimes we get lazy, you know, and it's okay, man. I know the game is to be sold and not told, but, you know, the price has been paid already. So sometimes we do get lazy, and we have to take up our cross of responsibility inside that matrimony, that way it's cross-stitched up to be matched up correctly. We have a lot of torn spirits and souls out here. So when we get into a vow of matrimony, a lot of us have torn and ragged ends on us that we haven't squared off, that we haven't, you know, got to tie up or anything like that. So we go into these marriages thinking that we are in love. When we're not really loving, we just feel going off of emotion, because if we were loving in action, then before we go ahead and take that step of feeling of love and trying to take a vow of matrimony, then we would love ourselves enough to square ourselves up. That way, when we go to lay next to the other counterpart who's also squared up, the foundation is laid. That way you can put something else on top of it. Because believe you me, it's hard to stack 3 things up on top of 2 circles, okay? You try it. Try to take 2 circles like this and then put something on top of it. It's hard to do it. But if you take a square and then another square, you can put another square on top of it, just like a pyramid. And why do you need to be squared off? It's 4 angles to a square. North, south, east, and west. So that means in your matrimony or in your marriage, you need to be squared off on all 4 angles. And that angle is only a 90-degree angle. I mean, yeah, that right angle is only a 90-degree angle. And 4 times 90 is 360. So you got to square yourself around all the way before you take that vow of matrimony. Even when you look inside your marriages, whether it's business marriage, friendship marriage, work marriage, convenience marriage, out there on the streets, you could be a hustler, married to the game, but are you squaring yourself up to the game for real? No, you're just out here lost, messing the game up like everybody else. You know, be realistic with yourself. You know, because God is real, and you have to understand these vowels are real too. Anything that you like to add, sister? Because I know, I know I just said a whole mouthful.
I know you fine. You fine. I'll jump in.
But yes, I'm honestly, I can say I'm not married. You know. And that's because of the simple fact that I had to learn some things, you know. What you put out is what you get back. That tune in the universe that you send out across is what you're going to get back. So fellas, if you're out here on the horn dog tip and you're happy with it, you're going to run across a marriage that you're going to find. And you're going to be happy. You might even live with the girl and whatnot, and everything will be fine and dandy. But that's all you do. You know, 20 years will go down the road and you'll just be living with them. You know, no intent on marrying. I mean, no intent on going before a vow of matrimony, because you're already married. It's common law. You're already there, dude. So why pay for the cow when you're getting the milk for free, basically? You know, but that's not what it should be. You're supposed to square yourself up. You know. I mean, we also... There's also something that was shown to me also about how these different people back in the day, I should say back in the ancestral time, they would have a harem of women, but they would have one wife. You know, that is a deep principle right there. And let me tell you, we're going to have a lot of female friends out there. A lot of female friends out there. But outside them female friends, you must square yourself up before the vows of matrimony to have yourself a wife. That way you can go ahead and have the embodiment of the God, the mother, father, coming together to form a child. The child may not be even a physical child. The child is the birth of a new family.
Right.
Okay?
I had to learn that.
And the Holy Spirit is the legacy that that family leads on. You know? So we have to take that into consideration on when we are going through these times, you know. It feels good to go out there and have a harem full of women.
Or for women,
you know,
maybe a whole bunch of guys.
And for women, a harem full of men and whatnot. But you do need to square yourself off and comprehend that when it comes down to matrimony, not having a whole bunch of women means paradise. But having that wife and knowing that you're squared off to her. Having your female friends, having your male friends, leaving them on the side, because those are marriages. Your wife, you take a vow of matrimony with. Those who are having difficulties inside their homes right now, who have taken the vow of matrimony, but they only resorted to not look at it like that, they're married. And they're looking towards a divorce. You know, what is it that made you get married in the first place? Was it real love? Or was it an emotion of love? Because real love is going to run on both sides, emotionally and physically.
Love is that divine peace that is within you.
And it's divine, divided. Physical, spiritual, divine.
A lot of marriages and relationships are not even based off of the divine love. It's just truly based off of the emotions that people have. And, you know, sometimes we have to take a step back. They always say you don't look back on anything. Don't ever look back in life and all this other stuff. But if you don't look back sometimes to see where you were so you can help see where you are, then how are you going to know where you're going? You know, and people... You know, we get ourselves involved in these relationships with each other and not even remember why we got into it in the beginning. And somewhere along the line we forget, you know, and then unfortunately that part that we forget, you know, it builds a separation within two people. And then it builds and builds and builds and nobody starts to talk about it. And then what happens is, and this is something that I did in my marriage that I realized I did incorrectly, was instead of going to my husband and talking to him about my fears and the things that I was upset about and that was bothering me, I went to my friends. And what happens is your friends are not going to really be the ones to help you, because they're like the little yap in your ear, and they're just telling you what their thought. Oh girl, he ain't no good. He just a low self, whatever, blah blah blah, not trying to work, and he messing with some girl ain't such a anyway. Trust me, I hear that a lot, and I hear that from friends and stuff like that. And you're gonna
hear that from typical people that read certain doctrines a certain way, like, oh well, the woman's supposed to be quiet and go to the man and whatnot. Da 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 da. Oh, well, this book says that the woman's supposed to be quiet in the church, da-da-da-da. Well, don't forget your body's the church. So a woman should quiet down emotions, just like a man should quiet down his emotions inside of his church's body.
Right.
Take your issues home. Discuss your issues with your spouse or your other one. Because don't forget, communication is the key to all relationships. So communicate with each other.
Right.
You know, open up that door. Use that key, you know, to open up that door.
Right. A lot of us don't use that key anymore.
And it's funny that Sister Kefa said, "Don't turn back." You know, well, when you turn back, how you not gonna know where you come from to know where you're going at? But a lot of times when we do turn back, we get salty. You know, like Lot's wife when she looked back at Sodom and whatnot. So when you look back, don't feel bitterness. You know, don't feel that salt. Don't feel that bitterness. You know, just keep on stepping. comprehend that you came from there. And praise God that He got you up out of there.
Right,
And He's going to lead you somewhere different. Don't look back at that. If you and your spouse are having some issues, communicate. Don't sit up here and harbor on the feelings like, oh, well, I feel hurt about this. Yes, you're human. You're going to feel hurt. But comprehend there's a way out. If you start peeling wheels in one place, you're just going to burn rubber and your tires are going to pop. But the moment that you catch traction and you turn your wheel another way, you're going to speed off. So go ahead. Don't peel wheels. Don't just sit there and let your emotions burn. Turn into another direction. Well, if that direction don't work, turn to another direction. If that direction don't work, turn to another direction. There's so many different angles. Don't forget, it's 360 angles.
Right.
The whole 360.
And marriages are not always perfect. They're simple. The solutions are simple because we as people, as humans, we make things difficult and complicated. But, we have to learn to try different avenues. And the first avenue is always to look to the One Most High, because that is the true and only one that can help you heal for whatever it is that's ailing in marriages. Because most of the problems in the marriages are always usually superficial material things. And it does really have much to do with what's going on between the two people. We allow the lack of funds to cause problems in our marriages. We have the maybe certain things that are happening in the neighborhood or what's going on at the job and things like that. We come home angry about our job, and so we lash out at our spouses because you're angry at something that your boss said to you or a coworker said to you. A lot of things come in that contributes to why people have issues in their marriages. We're running out of time on this one, so we're going to have to give you a part 3 in just a moment. Hotep. Hotep. I'm Kefa Manuk Ma'at. And again, this is my brother here.
Amenhotep, Setepen, MerriAmen.
To finish off where we were talking about communication. And we're speaking on when you're communicating with each other, your spouse, your significant other, your friend in your marriage, that we must learn how to be truthful. And this is for any of them who are going into the marriage, who are in it, or coming out of it. Doesn't matter. A lot of us are not being truthful with each other in our communication. Communication is key, yes. But if you're communicating incorrectly and you're communicating within an illusion, then your communication is going to bring about a whole bunch of chaos and confusion within your marriages or within your relationships.
Right.
A lot of us are not speaking out what we need to say to people because we're so afraid of how it's going to affect that person and their emotions. So we don't want to see them cry. We don't want to see them get hurt or mad. But we're not seeing that when you keep the illusion going, you keep the lie going and not telling the truth of what you truly feel inside, or whether something is hurting you. Like you may have a friend, say if your husband is an alcoholic, and you're not telling your husband that these issues that him drinking all the time is really hurting, but you keep massaging it, and trying to sugarcoat it and try to make him feel good about it, but it's truly hurting the marriage, it's hurting the family, it's hurting the household, it's hurting your funds and all this other stuff. You have to stand on your ma'at karu at all times. You have to say and speak and live and think truth at all times, even if it's going to hurt. And that's the thing. It's not that you're going out there to purposely hurt the person and make them cry, because to be honest, that is the choice that person makes within themselves if they're going to allow what you say to affect them, to hurt them. But see, we're taught in a certain manner, so we are taught to think that when somebody says truth and it goes against what we want, then we should get angry, mad, and cry. And that's what happens. But we must stand on our ma'akaru. We must speak truth no matter the outcome, because the outcome will be far more damaging if we are communicating through a lie and not communicating through truth. And that's what we were speaking on earlier. And while the camera was off and going through its uploading, we were talking back and forth on that.
Remember, it's called communication. Common unity vocation. You have to be on common grounds to have unity. And how do you do it? Through your vocation, through your vocabulary, through your vocalizing, through talking, through sound, person, through your person. You know, that's Greek, person. You know, through sound, basically. So, you know, that's why they say God spoke the world into existence. You know,
vibrations,
his person, you know, through sound. Okay, so these sounds that we make to these people, you know, has to be conveyed of just common truth, common unity. Fellas, we get into this era of, oh, I really do care about this woman so much that I'm gonna tell her what she wants to know without telling her everything she needs to hear. I'm gonna tell her what I want her to know without telling her what she needs to hear. It's almost like knick-knack, paddywhack, give a dog a bone. Because while you give the dog a bone, he's over there in the corner gnawing. You're sneaking into the doghouse, you know, pulling all the rest of the stuff out of the doghouse, where the dog's over there with his nose on the bone. You know, and that's the end of that. You know, it's time to go ahead and take up our cross of responsibility, including myself. You know, I'm one to point my finger, you know, because I do know I got 3 more pointing back at me. So, it's a tough pill to swallow, you know. It really is. You know, truth hurts. You know, it really does. Truth hurts. And I know, sisters, y'all can enjoy this. There is such thing as good pain. There's such thing as good pain, you know. And you know, fellas, you know, we really don't get to enjoy the good pain like the females get to enjoy the good pain. But there is a pain that once we go through it, we can actually live with it. And then we see it the next day that it was a good pain. You know, and that is to be truthful. To square ourselves up, you know, and be truthful. To be on our words of truth, Amat Karu, as Sister Kefa said. You know, I'm one that I'm coming now into my asar of understanding what the truth, truth is, you know, in things. You know, and I know people are like, well, if you're talking about truth, how come you read that book, you know? But that's a whole nother story, because I see truth inside of this and not color, you know. Right. That's a whole nother story right there. So
a whole new video.
But anyway, we're getting into matrimony and marriages right now. But the whole thing is that the truth, when you are married, that is the love. You know, when you get into matrimony, you love that much, you take a vow of God. You know, and there's, you know, and I guess because people have their own different views of God and this, that, and the other, and, you know, they really don't comprehend, or we're really not taught, especially over here, you know, whites and blacks alike, you know, especially at this age, you know, most of us are immigrants. You know, most of our parents, grandparents are immigrants. So what we're getting taught over here was a system that was set in place before we were even thought of, before we were inching our daddy's pants. You know, these are, you know, this is a system that was put in place, you know. So what we're being taught, everybody's getting taught, right. You know, and it's like, and it's a generic food. It's a generic process. You know, it's not organic, it's generic, you know, and it's about time for us to really see that, you know. It's about time to go ahead and hold up our hands and put it on the judgment. You know, we got 2 hands to put on the judgment. You know,
because we're in the time of judgment.
We're in the time of judgment. You know, I mean, I could. I know this has nothing to do with marriage and with marriage and matrimony, but really, take the time. Just a little seed to plant. Take your age that you're going to be at the end of this year, and then take the year you were born. Add them 2 numbers together, and I guarantee you get 111. Now, we all know that 1 plus 1 equals 1, because we're talking about man and wife coming back together to make one. Right. And that is your judgments right there inside your mind. Now, with that, being said, take that seed and judge for yourself. Study to show yourself approved. Know thyself.
Right.
On the inside, that one that you are, linking to the other one. Now, is that one going to be a one? That 1 plus 1 coming together is going to be a 1? Or is it that 1 plus 1 coming together going to be a 2?
2, right. Because that's how a lot of marriages are lately.
Right. You're going to stand on, as a man, you're going to stand on your thing, and as a woman, she's going to stand on her thing. And
that's not how
a house divided does not stand.
Right.
Right.
That's very true. And like you said, a lot of these marriages, they're based off of 1 plus 1 equals 2 and not coming together as 1. We don't know how to be of one mind anymore. We don't know how to be of one thought, to speak together as a whole. A
common unity.
Right, a common unity. And I want to speak real quick because I don't want to use a lot of our time and go into 50 million parts. But because marriage and matrimony is a very serious engagement, agreement, contract, institution that people get into, and people are divorcing all the time. And I can tell you, as a person who had went through this, when I got my divorce, there was a bit of sadness that came across my heart, because my thought was, we spent 7 years in this particular institution and we couldn't make it work. We could not come together and sacrifice something from my side or his side so that we can make these things work for ourselves, for the vow we took, and for the children that we brought into this marriage. But then we also knew that we had come to that agreement within the marriage that we already knew that we weren't supposed to have really gotten married. And that's where a lot of people's divorces come from. Divorce is not something that people should play with, because some divorces are needed. If you're in physical relationships where you're being beaten, and or to be honest, if you have a spouse who is cheating on you, and especially cheating on you and is unprotected and bringing possible STDs into your marriage, and that could harm the woman in her womb, and not understanding that the woman's womb is so connected to the earth that when it's disrupted and endangered and going through its illnesses within her womb, that it affects the outside world. It affects the earth. It affects their family. It affects their household. It affects their emotions and connections to each other. Because when she is sad and hurting, trust me, he feels it. Even if he's still going out there doing it, he feels it. He don't know he's feeling it. And whoever he's going out there with, he's pushing that same energy off to the other person. Now, I want to say, add this in real quick, speaking on that. This brother here has said, he speaks a lot of wisdom to me on many times that helped me through as becoming becoming Kefa and no longer Tiba.
It's the one. It's not me. I'm just a vessel.
Okay, through him.
It's Amen. I'm just a vessel.
There was this one day that he explained something to me that was very serious for women, and that we as women, and this is for also those who are going into it, that we must know who we are letting into our universe, because you know what I'm about to say, right? You have to be careful who you let into your universe, and not everybody should be in your universe.
Right. Like I said, from the scripture book that I read, okay, you have the opening leg of the story that says Eve had brought sin into this world, right? As they say. And then the other leg, you have Mary that bring God into this world, okay? And between them two legs, you have kings, you have prophets, you have all types of stuff. Ladies, what are you putting in between your legs? You should cover yourself. Just as a book has a cover. Cover yourself and know what you're dealing with. Are you dealing with a prophet? Are you dealing with a king? Are you dealing with a jester? Are you dealing with a thief? Are you dealing with just a typical dude? Watch yourself. Because your legs are the keys to the universe. Basically, without you, there would be no us. Plain and simple.
And women need to do the same, though. Because for the men, there are women out there who you can't just sleep with every woman that's out there. And because you sleep with the wrong woman, or the woman who carries negative energy within her, and then you are being one with her in an intimate setting, you are now bringing certain things within your own being as well. You have to be careful who you're with, because how I see it and how it's being taught to me is that if you see yourself as a god or a goddess, Niter or Niter, then you should, if I myself as a Niter, I should only allow a Niter to come into my body, to come into my womb, to share this universe that is created for me. It's amazing how time goes fast on this thing. We're already coming up. We're going to do one more part, and then that should hopefully end that. So let me go ahead and end this now. Hotep. We're back again. Right. Okay. We were talking about allowing people into our universes and so on for women, and for men who are seeing or dating women and sleeping with them. That's another thing that I want to talk about. I know it's not easy out here to not be intimate with somebody that you're with, and because you see them and you get these thoughts and these feelings that run across your mind, and you just want to jump their bones. But there is something very sacred about that type of intimacy, especially when you get into marriage. Because just because you're married don't mean you're supposed to go out there and I can have sex all I want. It's not about the having sex all you want, because there's a purpose for intimacy, because there's a spiritual intimacy in the physical act. And when two people are married doing that, it's a totally different thing, because it's coming from the act of the love, the divine love of the One Most High. And that is that connection that you build between you and your spouse, as well as you and your spouse and the One Most High. And that builds that connection much stronger. Now, a lot of us, we don't want to not have sex with that person, because we think to ourselves, because I have girlfriends and I listen to it say it all the time, I want to know what he can do first before we go and do all that. Okay, but when you're with somebody and you've gotten to know that person, before you decide to be married to that person, make sure that you know each other intimately in the mind first, before y'all decide to lay down with each other. Make sure that y'all know each other intimately in the spirit first, before you decide to lay down with each other. And when you decide that you want to lay down with each other, and y'all have taken that time to get to know each other, we have an agreement in mind and in spirit, that when you want to come together in body, then that's when you make that step to go beyond that and go into matrimony through the physical side of marriage. And a lot of people don't want to make that step, because they want to enjoy the physical feelings that come with having sex, because it feels so good. And I understand that. Trust me, I do. But know that when you're with the person that you are to be with, who are you, whether it's a design to be with, or what is that? I know there's a verse in the Bible that speaks on that one. When what God has put together, that no man
put asunder.
Right. That right there is the explanation of the matrimony that we were speaking about earlier of Usair and Uset. And it's having that thought and not just using it as a quote to sound good, that look into it and utilize that within your marriages.
Actual application.
Yes, because a lot of people are not truly applying what they read in their scriptures. They're not applying.
As Brother Quicey says, they just go by it. They don't actually live it. Brother Quicey. That's my man right there.
The beautiful master teacher, trust. Asher Quacey. But just so that we won't go long on this, I mean, this is like, I believe anything else. If it's something that's truly that meant to be spoken on and something that need to be shared to help awaken certain things in people within themselves, within their relationships that they have with people, that this is something that is needed. And if it means that we had to go through one more part or two more parts, then that's what we would have to do, because we're following what is within us, that is coming from the One Most High to guide y'all, to give you light within a dark place that you may be in.
You know, I know a man I'm not going to say any names, but this man is in charge of a lot of people. And he fell short to the temptations of this world. And this man is held in a high degree and by high standards because he is a man of the cloth. Now, he fell short with his wife and had extramarital activity. Now, of course, they're going through something because they're human beings and whatnot. They're going through it. But there's one thing that they have that is that no matter with this whole situation, of course she's hurt. The woman is hurt in this whole situation. But she knows that it's not her fault, first and foremost, on why he stepped out. Because she didn't do anything. And a lot of times women, I listen to some of my female friends, and sometimes y'all fault yourselves for a lot of stuff. Fellas, sometimes we'll point our finger at, well, if it wasn't for you doing this, that, and the other, da-da-da. Men, be real. Okay? We know what we're doing. This man knew what he was doing. The one thing that he did, which is holding his relationship together right now with his wife, is that he was honest. He didn't wait for the community to tell. He told her himself. Baby, I was out there. I fell short. Pardon me of my trespasses I've committed against your love and your laws, because we all have laws and love towards people, and he asked for a pardon of that, and he has to own up to it because he took a vow of matrimony before the One Most High, and so for his judgment, his final judgment, he has to own up to it, but guess what? His woman is also squared away, and she knows that too. So therefore, what she did was, is she's going to go ahead and let the final judgment take care of that. But in this realm, she is willing to work with this man. She is willing to stand by this man because they have a good communication system. They have a good, loving house. And on top of that, those two are strong and squared off to where if one leaves, the other one can stand. If the other one leaves, the other one can stand.
Right.
Because they have one thing, they have one accord. That one thing sitting on top.
Right.
And no, I don't mean to sound cliche, but they put the spiritual aspects of Amen in their relationship on top of their physical human feelings.
Right.
And with her being hurt, she wasn't fake about it like, oh, well, God said this, and, no, she wasn't fake about it at all. This woman is smart, very, very intelligent. So she sat down, and I guess she went into her own, little deductions and was like, 1 + 1 = 1. I made a vow of matrimony, this man made a vow of matrimony. And you know what? Their relationship is so strong right now. It scares me. It scares me when I see these people. I'm not going to say scares me like fear, but to see that power right there. That type of union right there. It's an arsenal that makes you bow the knee and get on the square because of the simple fact that is the power that every black, or every family, I should say, but let's say black family should have, because they are black.
Right.
That doesn't give a man a green light to say, okay, well, I'm a good man, I'll take care of my family, I'll take care of my kids so I can sleep with whoever I want to sleep with. No. That's not giving you a green light to do that. What the story is, the moral of the story is that because both of these people were squared up and they had something greater than them sitting on top of their relationship, they were able to work through it. They didn't let the wheels peel and burn and whatnot and burn a hole into their stomach or just pop the tires.
Right.
Their wheels started peeling and they turned direction and they went on with their life.
Right.
They knew the whole 360. They encompassed the 360.
And to add on, and this is something I've shared with my brother here before, and basically what he was expressing in this the story that he was telling is another principle, is that what they showed was that when one became weak, another became strong. And that is another part of what relationships are about. If there's something going on with your other half, or your friend, your boyfriend, girlfriend, your sisters, your brothers, your husband, your wife, when you see a weakness come, that is when you must build up and be strong and protect that unit so that he is protected, you are protected, if there's a child, that child is protected, or whatever it is, so that he can build his strength up, or she can build her strength up, so that when you come back, you're back at a balance again. Mm-hmm. Because understand that every day in your life is weighing on a scale in everything that you do. And sometimes we're not going to always be like this. Sometimes in our lives, through decisions that we make, we're going to and we're going to tip the scale. And so you have to step up. And sometimes, understand, women, I need you to understand this about our brothers. Our brothers go through a lot every day. They go out there and they're working hard for their families, for their households, to keep their unit together, to pay the bills and all this other stuff. And they going out there with this world who is hitting them upside their head, trying to tear them down, bring them down by different people in different ways, and they got just all this stuff going on, and they got stuff going in their mind, trying to make sure, how can I make ends meet today? We need more money in the household because this economy that we're in, this society that we're in is based off of all this money thing, this money system that they got. Sisters understand, yes, we got our troubles too. I know that. I'm a sister. I have 3 children I take care of. But the brothers are out here are working their tail off. I'm telling you, when they come home, you need to be ready for them. If it's a massage, if it's just saying, baby, how you doing today? If they drink wine, give them a glass of wine. Something, even if it's cooked dinner for them real quick. Different things that you can show them, honey, I'm with you. I got your back. Right. No matter what's going on, I got your back. I'm ready for you, so you can relax when you get home. Take the world off your shoulders and let me care for you right now.
Right. Outside the 4 walls of your house, you fight every day. Man and woman fight every day. Whether we fight in traffic, fighting our jobs, fighting for promotions, fighting to get a job, fighting with the kids, fighting with schools, fighting with social services, fighting with people on Facebook, fighting with people, whatever it is that we do. We're too busy fighting outside of our houses.
And we're not loving. We're not loving like we should.
But my whole thing is that outside the house, we have a struggle every day, man and woman. When we get inside them 4 walls, why do we need to fight where we rest our head at? You never poop where you lay your head at, because you can't sleep from the smell. Okay? The vibes, you don't do that. If you're living with your boyfriends, girlfriends, take the time to really step back, square yourselves off, and am I really hindering this person, or is this person really helping me? Weigh out your options. Be fair, be real, be leveled up, be squared off. On 1, am I beneficial to this person? 2, is this person beneficial to me? Right. Weigh your options. Am I holding this person? Can this person be better without me? Can I be better without this person? Be realistic. Don't sit up here and be like, well, this girl ain't going to never do nothing without me. And girls don't think like, I take care of this man. I'm his sugar mom. He ain't going to do nothing without me, because, what much more do we have to worry about someone taking care of us when our celestial parents feed the birds every day? So what do we have to worry about if we're made in its image? It's going to take care of us. Not true. Yeah, there's people out there suffering and whatnot. That's a whole different story right there, because those people, they wouldn't be suffering if it wasn't for a dome over top of them people because of what's on top. But that's a whole other story right there.
We're still running out of time.
Real quick.
This real fast.
I guess this is going to be the last segment right here, I guess. So just real quick, I just want to say, Hotep to everybody. El Shaddai, God Almighty. Square yourselves up, and if that eye is single, the whole body is filled with light.
Hotep.
Hotep.
Thank you for watching.
Shalom.